I let AI call the shots on my latest Dark Souls 1 playthrough, and it was fucked. Hi, I am MedioCore, an amateur content creator who will be made obsolete as soon as AI figures out how to independently make YouTube videos. Which got me thinking, what happens if we ask an AI chatbot to help us with Dark Souls 1? If you are unaware, ChatGPT is a large language model developed by OpenAI that can understand and generate human-like text, answering any question you might have. It is worth noting that it does so with varying levels of success. This video is what happened when I asked it for help with Dark Souls 1. We started off innocently enough though, with the first of many steps being creating a character. Next up was fixing a build. Naively, I asked the following, but nothing could have prepared me for the answer. Alright, how about the Butterfingers build? For your equipment, wear the heaviest armor you can find, but make sure to unequip it all in the middle of a boss fight. Since you have Butterfingers, your character will occasionally drop their weapons mid-fight, forcing you to scramble to pick it up while avoiding further damage. Jesus. Okay, so a quick summary of the Butterfinger criteria can be found on the screen. Now, Dark Souls 1 has a fun little mechanic where if you die with dropped items on the ground, they will despawn forever. At this point I had little to no idea how hard the challenge would be, so I did allow myself to drop any weapon. But it does have to come from a weapon slot. What's fun about that is that the game does not allow you to drop equipped items. Fuck. Now that that's clear, we are ready to get started. So like and subscribe, sit back and shut the fuck up because we got work to do. My first move was to escape the asylum I was being kept in, after which I needed a PC to play Dark Souls on. I then asked ChatGPT for a list on how to complete the game. It wasn't great. Luckily, the first step was completing the tutorial. Since there are no armor pieces in the undead asylum, we could just use the thieves armor for now, which I immediately discarded upon entering the boss room. I unequipped my main weapon, dropped it from another menu, realizing that takes an awkward amount of time, and then I picked it up again. Thus, the Butterfinger was satisfied. Now all we had to do was beat the asylum demon, which we accomplished by throwing military grade explosives at him, ticking off the first step without any real problems, which meant that it was time to go to Firelink Shrine. Things were looking up. Maybe this wouldn't be so hard after all. When I was dropped into the world of Dark Souls, the words of ChatGPT echoed in my mind. For your equipment, wear the heaviest armor you can find. So before we did anything else, we were off to find some heavy armor. If you're looking to be the thickest of boys in Dark Souls, you'll want to start with an armor set that has high physical defense and prowess. The best starting armor set for this purpose is the Elite Knight set. It provides good. So Papa GPT gave us the order to get the Elite Knight set. There's just one small problem. Dark Souls starts over here. The Elite Knight set is over there. At first glance, we cannot access that area without breaking the order that ChatGPT gave us earlier, but we can use the master key to not kill any bosses but still go there. So from Firelink Shrine I went down to the Valley of the Drakes. I skillfully bested the Black Knight in single combat and I appropriated his family's herald for myself. From there, it was a short walk to Darkroot Garden, where I found the Elite Knight set hidden away in a corner. I put it on, traded good posture for drip, and I got away safely with it too, which gave me access to the shortcut. Back at Firelink Shrine, I looked at what ChatGPT wanted us to do next. Our next destination was the Undead Burg. The only thing standing between progress and us was the Taurus Demon. Now, I can't remember the last time I died to him, so this should be a walk in the park. I spawned in the Taurus Demon and immediately took off all of my clothes. I then did the same in Dark Souls.
Striptease.
Striptease.
To give myself some space to Butterfinger my weapon, I fell back to the sentry tower. And then, the crazy motherfucker jumped on the tower and I was forced to attack first. I was caught so off guard by the short range of the bandit knife that I whiffed the rest of the fight. And then, it hit me. And I also had a realization. I did not like the bandit's knife, and I would much rather stick to what I know. So I did some farming and then I went back for a second attempt, which went a lot better, because I did it on my terms. Which in practice looks a little like this. I then asked ChatGPT for some bling options, and he recommended Havel's ring and the ring of favor and protection. This was a good thing, because both of these rings increase your equipment load. My hope was that if my endurance would be high enough, I could finally get rid of my awful posture. Now as I'm editing this, I noticed that I did not drop my weapon for this fight, but officially Havel is a demi-boss, so y'all can get fucked. I did free myself from my polyester prison, so that is at least worth half a Butterfinger. With Havel's ring in hand, I went back to Firelink Shrine. Using the recently unlocked shortcut, I found myself back at the Undead Parish, where I used my superior game knowledge to clear the church. After which, I got an unexpected visitor. Now, ChatGPT did not tell me how to deal with invaders, so we just chilled for a while, and then he killed me in one hit. After that distraction, it was time to face off against the gargoyles. As I was getting my shit kicked in a way that would put even my uncle to shame, I was faced with a choice. Because of the Butterfinger, my rhythm for this fight was way off. I could give up here and try again, or I could just suck it up, buff my weapon again and get good. Today was a good day to be mediocre. We just needed to ring the second Bell of Awakening to gain access to Sans Fortress. The second Bell of Awakening can be found in Blighttown, which can be accessed from the depths. I traveled back to Firelink Shrine to skillfully acquire the Ring of Favor and Protection from Lothric, after which I prepared for my expedition below. But for now, ChatGPT had other plans, as it first sent us through Darkroot Garden. Here, I took on the Moonlight Butterfly, which actually took me 2 attempts because of the Butterfinger, which in itself is quite embarrassing. But then again, my branding is literally centered around mediocrity, so if you want perfect play,
you've come to the wrong place.
Next up was the lower undead Burg. Defeat Capper Demon boss and proceed to depths. Easy enough, but then I thought long and hard about the implications of stepping foot in the most cramped arena in the entire series. Coupled with the fact that I had to take my clothes off in the vicinity of 2 starved dogs, I was not too keen on entering the boss room. And maybe I didn't have to, for you see, I played Modern Warfare 2 back in 2009, and I still had a few tricks up my sleeve from way back then. The same tactic could be applied to the Capper Demon. After Butterfingering, I reigned victorious over the Capper Demon without ever stepping foot in his arena. If you're of the opinion that this is against the rules and that this run has now been ruined, I only have one thing to say to you.
What rules, you sons of bitches? Remember when
Cheese
was a sin?
up yours, Capper Demon.
We'll see who cancels who.
Skillfully besting the Capper Demon gave us access to the depths, where we faced off against the Gaping Dragon. This also took 2 attempts, because Dark Souls imitates life. If you do not stand up for yourself, some many-toothed will always walk right over you. With that in mind, my second attempt went a lot better. I Butterfingered again, and then I spent the next 5 minutes shanking him to death. With the defeat of the Gaping Dragon, Blighttown was now open to us. I made my way down, activated the bonfire and then made my way to Quelaag. The trick to this fight was taking off my clothes when she wasn't looking, because Dark Souls imitates life. From there, it was just a matter of taking my time and careful positioning. It took 5 minutes, but I bested Quelaag and was ready for the next step. But then, disaster struck. The second Bell of Awakening is in Blighttown. However, ChatGPT made a mistake and said that the second bell must be rung in Londo. Ringing the second Bell of Awakening opens up Sans Fortress, where defeating the Iron Golem will grant you access to Londo. Thus, Londo cannot be accessed without ringing the Bells of Awakening first. ChatGPT said nothing about the bell in Blighttown. Victory was so close, I could almost taste it, but my dreams were just beyond my reach. It would seem that everything you and I have been through today has been for nothing, and that our adventure ends here. Failure only becomes final if you quit, and as long as I have options, I will stand up. We had to find a way to get through without the bells. We had come too far to give up now, and I wasn't raised to be a quitter. Come to think of it, I wasn't raised that much at all. I had quite absent parents. If I had to be known for one thing, it would be my complex problem-solving skills. So here I am, casually playing Rollercoaster Tycoon 2, until I noticed 4,000 people complaining that it's too busy in this park. Luckily for them, I have just a thing. Using a similar level of problem solving, maybe we can overcome our current predicament. You see, the only thing standing between Sans Fortress and us is the gate. So what if we take the gate out of the equation? How? The short and simple answer is the death cam glitch. If you fall off a ledge in Dark Souls, the camera changes to a top-down view. This is called the death cam. Shortly after death cam, your health will drop to 0. There is a brief moment between these two states. Under very specific circumstances, it becomes possible to control your character during death cam. To save resources, this state also prevents certain assets from loading in. This includes the gate to Sans Fortress, so hypothetically, death cam would prevent the gate from spawning in. That is our in. There is a way to activate death cam near Sans Fortress while staying alive. If you parry an enemy at the exact right spot, you will enter death cam. Problem is, if you do not execute this glitch perfectly, it will either not work or... Godverdomme. So, hella specific, quite complicated, but not impossible. It took me 11 fumbled attempts, but after that, this happened. Finally. Where do I go? Getting into Deathcam is only part of the puzzle. To complicate matters, Deathcam forces us into using tank controls, where we can only walk forward in the direction our character is facing. Since parts of the map are not loading in, we don't really know where we're going. So after dicking around for about 5 minutes, I finally crossed the bridge to Sans Fortress. Now all we have to do is restart the game. If everything goes well, we should find ourselves inside the fortress with the gate still closed. Woo! Alright, the real challenge starts here. If we die inside of Sans Fortress, we will respawn outside. Shit. Meaning we'll have to glitch our way in again. I ain't finna do that. So it will be of the utmost importance to not do anything irredeemably stupid while we're here. Like backstepping instead of sprinting. Naturally, I made my way to the bonfire without any real problems. The iron golem was just a few meters away from here. In the boss arena, we butterfingered him so hard he developed an iron deficiency. We did it! We gained access to Anor Londo, despite ChatGPT being like,
You stupid.
No, not.
where's the Bell of Awakening?
Anor Londo.
You stupid.
We had made it to our destination, but here's the thing about life. Goalposts change all the time, and whenever you've achieved a goal, another one pops right up. Like my goal of making it to 1000 subscribers in my lifetime. I really need a new dinner plate and I cannot be arsed to go to the store. Our next step was Anor Londo. Arrive at this grand city and defeat the Ornstein and small boss to ring the second Bell of Awakening. As you know, that shit is not here. But there is an armor set hidden away that is heavier than what we currently have. So we opened the secret stash and acquired Havel's armor, as well as the occult club, which would come in handy later. Now we had everything we needed to defeat the Ornstein and small boss. The first attempt went about as well as they usually go.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Clearly, a second attempt was needed. Ow!
Boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
We did it! We killed the Ornstein and Smo boss. We were rewarded with the Lord Vessel and gazing upon magnificent tatas, which turned out to be an illusion made by Gwendolyn. Technically, he is not on the ChatGPT list, but I will never ever let it slide that he distracted me with fake mummy milkers. That concludes our business in Anor Londo. The next step on the list was the Catacombs and the Tomb of Giants. Now, don't tell anyone else this, but because of the extra time it took to satisfy the Butterfinger, I almost died to pinwheel. Clearing the catacombs gave us access to the Tomb of Giants. There are no words in the English dictionary to express how much I hate this area. It's dark, dangerous, and strange creatures touch your butt when you aren't looking. I don't like this place, so imagine my displeasure when I saw this. Turns out, to gain access to the last few bosses in the game, you need to actually activate the Lord Vessel, which can only be done if you have spawned in Framt, which happens after activating the second Bell of Awakening, which is something we did not do. This meant that our progress was blocked by old mayonnaise and we had to fix it. Since I didn't feel like breaking the game once again, I just decided to confront ChatGPT with his transgressions. This sadly meant that we had to discard the initial list that ChatGPT provided. But look at the bright side. Even though AI will become sentient in the future and kill us all, as of right now, it's dumb as fuck. So we were forced back to Blighttown to activate the second Bell of Awakening, which then allowed us to activate the Lord Vessel. I then went through the Tomb of Giants. Again, to finish this part of the list, we had to face off against Nido. I generally handle him pretty well, as long as he doesn't do his screaming attack. Shit. Sometimes you no-hit a boss and sometimes they no-hit you. Let's try it again. Ha! Normally, if you kill the skeletons, they come right back. They'll only stay dead if you finish them off with a divine weapon. So I did that first and then I butterfingered. The trick to Nido is staying at the front of the arena so you do not attract any additional skeletons. From there, it's just a matter of placing your hits carefully and then it shouldn't be too hard. We did it! We acquired our first Lord Soul. Next on the list was Thief the Skillless. Confronting Seath would take us to the Grand Archives, where they also archive all of the group chats I have with the boys, so naturally... shit. Let me out. I skillfully escaped prison and then I found myself in a cave with walking scallops or something. On this day, I learned they can enter the boss room, which subsequently meant that another attempt was warranted. Turns out, if you don't have to deal with those scallops, Seath is actually pretty easy. So I successfully hunted down the last of an endangered species, and I was rewarded with another Lord Soul. Next on our list was the water park underneath Firelink Shrine. There was a small problem though. ChatGPT did not tell us to acquire the Covenant of Notorious, and the next part will be impossible without it, because it allows us to not die when we enter the abyss. Oh no, wait, we did this already. So I kindly let ChatGPT know it was a dum-dum, after which it was able to give us the right information. We did have to take a little detour to Sif. Hi guys, real-time MedioCore here. So I'm currently in the middle of breaking the space-time continuum and editing this behemoth of a fucking video. At this point I'm sifting through my attempt of Sif, but I noticed something strange. I did not butterfinger during this attempt, but I did beat him. That is against the rules, so let's do it again live. No. Okay, let's unequip the knife. And it's been a while since I've done this, okay? Ah, no! This is fine. So here's my attempt, sped up 30 times so you'll know it's not a fake. Yay, we killed a dog! Let's get back to the video. Who the hell was that ugly motherfucker? Anyway, our conscience was cleared and we could now step foot into the abyss. Under the cover of darkness, I was able to free myself from my undergarments, satisfying the Butterfinger all before the first boss was able to do damage. The Four Kings is what's known as a DPS race, which means that after a certain amount of time passes, another entity of the boss will spawn in. Thus, if you do not clear one boss quick enough, you will get in the fuck like this. Shit. Yeah, it wasn't that hard to be honest. We did it! Now we are ready to make our way to the 7th Circle of Hell and get our final Lord Soul. The final boss of this area is the Bed of Chaos. She fucking sucks. Before we can get to her though, there are 3 bosses we have to kill first. The first being the Ceaseless Discharge. She fucking sucks. Of course, we had to Butterfinger for the sextillionth time this playthrough. Luckily, this boss wasn't too bad, and we were able to move down further into Lost Izalith. Next up was the Demon Fire Sage. This is basically a reskin of the Asylum Demon fight, so I cannot make this any more interesting than it is. So let's move on to the Centipede Demon. Whoa. So despite a very rocky start, I just had to do my signature move of severing Achilles tendons, and then the way to the Bed of Chaos was free. Traversing to the Bed of Chaos allowed me to relive my childhood days of playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, after which I quickly realized I am past my prime. My meniscus. Irreparable joint damage aside, we were able to Butterfinger and get through the first phase, but that's largely due to the fact that this boss only starts spewing random bullshit as soon as the second phase starts, such as this. The only upside about this boss is that the phases do not reset when you die, so I Butterfingered once again and then used my superior game knowledge to advance to the next stage. Of course, it did not take long for me to get absolutely f***ed. At this point I was thoroughly regretting my life choices, but we had come too far to give up. So we ended this part with putting the Bed of Chaos to sleep. Alright, time for the home stretch. Acquiring the 4 Lord Souls opens up the way to the kiln of the First Flame, where we can find Gwyn, the final boss of Dark Souls 1. I do not know why, but I feel like there's always one boss that never really clicks, and for me, this has always been Gwyn. His attack speed is so out of tone with the rest of the game that I barely find the time to Butterfinger. I gathered most of the footage for this video in one day, so at this point I was just burnt. And I was just about ready to call it quits. This was a stupid idea for a video anyways. But then I thought about what my mom once said to me.
Why you got 49,000 V-Bucks?
And it got me thinking, I could just use technology. So I decided to call upon my friend one last time. It started with ChatGPT and it will end with ChatGPT. I asked my final question of today and he provided me with this. One strategy that can be effective is to wait for him to perform a specific attack. A jumping slash, which leaves him open to a counter attack. Another strategy is to use a shield with high stability and good fire resistance, as Gwyn deals primarily fire damage. So I went out to fully upgrade the Black Knight shield, which I paid for using the soul of his son. This surely would give me the edge I need. And lo and behold, nah, I got fucked up. But there was one attack I could parry consistently. As long as we baited this attack, we had a chance. So I Butterfingered one more time. So after 12 attempts, it was finally done. Or at least, so I thought. Carefully analyzing the kill again, I noticed that I did not take off all of the armor pieces. Long story short, the Butterfinger was not satisfied. Since Dark Souls has a very strict autosave function, there was no going back for another attempt in this playthrough. This left me with a choice. I could lie to my audience by saying I did it without providing visual proof, which I decided against because it's hard to lie to your audience if you do not have one. I could also do the entire game again, just to have another shot at Gwyn. After contemplating long and hard, I chose the latter. It's worth noting that this decision shattered my already fragile mind. This only increased my doubts as to if this video would even be worth it. After a long and arduous fight against all of the required bosses, I finally reached Gwyn again. Despite all of the setbacks during the making of this video, I was able to apply all of what I had learned over the course of our journey and it finally clicked. This time, it really was the last Butterfinger. If you made it this far, thanks for spending time today. This is a little different from what I usually do, but I still hope you enjoyed it. A bit on the longer side too, so let's wrap this shit up. We did it. We beat Gwyn with a Butterfinger. Only thing left to do was to choose an ending. And after all we've been through today, I ain't extending shit. And that's the story of how ChatGPT ruined my sanity and all of the enjoyment I once held for Dark Souls. If I ever make a sequel, it will be here. In the meantime, why not check out Dark Souls 1 Story Explained.